podcast. I'm Dave Ford.
And I'm Todd Steele.
Guys, today is a special one, and I know we've said that about a few, but the title of today's show is You Are Enough. And dude, I know between the two of us that you and I struggle with this, being dads, and may I point out we're full-time dads. That's what we take most seriously. And I know that's how we gravitated towards each other in the first place. And then everything falls in line with that. The spouses, coaching, teaching, work. And the problem with us, though, is that even if you write it all down, right? Some people would be impressed and say, wow, I'm doing all this, so I deserve extra credit. What you and I do is we're like, well, what else can I do? Because I just don't feel like it's enough.
Oh, yeah.
And I know I've told you recently, and and I hold a lot of it in, but I haven't done well in the last probably month or two. And actually, last week at the end of the week, last Friday, something came over me, and it was crippling. It was paralyzing to where I really didn't want anything to do with anybody.
Yeah.
And that's a really, really bad place to be, dude. Talk about that for a second, if you. I mean, might as well, because that's what we do, right? That's how we get through this stuff. So you talk, and then I'll follow you.
I mean, I think a lot of times you get overwhelmed with being who you are and doing what you're called to do. And a lot of times in those processes, you put a lot of strain on yourself. You're constantly pouring out and pouring into people.
Right.
And it's kind of like this glass I got over here. I'm constantly pouring out, but if I don't pour anything back in it, I don't have anything to really pour out.
Right.
You need more. You need to be poured into. So a lot of times we find ourselves like, man, it's really not enough for me. I don't know about you. I sit there and I'm like, man, I need more than 24 hours in a day. I don't need to sleep. I need to do this. I need to get that. I need to do. It's always you have something to do, and people always say, man, why don't you just sit down and rest? But I don't know. I'm looking at my audience, but it's like when you feel like you're supposed to be more than what you are, it's like there's no rest in your body. Like, I feel like my bank account should have more zeros in it. So therefore, there's no rest in me. I'm not going to stop until I find that niche or find that thing that's going to help me get to another level.
Well, and you did a really good summary there, because that's exactly what it is. But the problem, man, is that's every day.
Yes.
Right? It's every day. And so, for instance, I texted you earlier, and I'm like, I woke up at 4:30 this morning. On the day that we all look forward to every week. We're like, just got to get to Saturday, man. Just got to get to Saturday, right? And now you get to Saturday and your brain is still on weekdays. Yes. And it's like, whoa, you got that alarm coming. No, I don't. And so then you start thinking, I start tossing and turning, and then it's over with. And I'm like, I'm just going to grab my phone. It's over. It's dark outside. I should be resting. This is the time I need to be recouping and getting ready for next week.
Yes.
And I can't even do it.
Yes. I mean, and you think about it, the struggle, a lot of it is like struggling to be a father. Let's just say now, like the world is, the normal for us is to have a woman that we probably used to be with, we have children with. So you have these high expectations on you as being a father. And there's a pull on you for you to do this, and then you have a new family, and you're like, okay, I'm trying to take care of both. Now, I can't take care of your whole household. I can take care of my kid. And you find yourself all the time like, dang, do I need to do more?
Right.
Like, there's a nonstop pull. Like every man that's a father, and I think every woman can attest to this too. It's like you are always trying to do more for your kids. You will break your neck trying to do stuff for your kids just because you don't want them to. I don't want them to grow up like I did. I didn't get all the shoes I want. We couldn't afford this, so I want to be able to afford it for my kids. So there's so much pressure on you being a father, and then you have a blended family, and you have your kids you're trying to still take care of, you're still trying to raise,
right?
And you like, man, I can never do enough, and it's like she's constantly fussing at you, and you like, listen, I paid my child support this month. I've given all I can, but as a man, you're like, man, I mean, am I really doing enough? I mean, do I need to do more? And like, there's always this pressure on you to do more. So like, when you told me this topic, I was like, man, listen, I don't ever think I'm enough.
Right. Well, and it's complicated and it's emotional.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, and we're secure enough in our manhood that we tell each other this stuff, that our emotions strike us in the middle of traffic.
Oh yeah.
Something will come on the radio. You can walk around and you see something, and it triggers, right? And we don't have any control over that. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. I know that we are far from the minority. We're a part of the majority.
Yes.
And it covers adults, it covers children. This is one of those that touches everyone, like drug addiction does. If you're not affected indirectly, you're affected directly, and vice versa. And this is a very, very wide-ranging subject. It's almost intimidating because it's getting bigger by the day.
Oh yeah.
We have the numbers that are out there saying that between the ages of 10 and 34, that the suicide rate is off the charts right now, which obviously is the extreme result of what we're talking about today. Not feeling enough, not feeling comfortable in this world, not feeling where you can connect. That's the biggest thing.
Yes. I mean, and a lot of people don't have an outlet. They don't have anybody to talk to. I was talking to a young lady this morning just about church alone. Church has high expectations on people. Some people they act like they don't sin, period. And they think that your life should be this and your life should be that. And you know what? I got to a point, I was like, you know, I'm living for other people. Yeah. I mean, it's time for me to start living for myself. And once you start living for yourself, and you gotta have a relationship with God.
Right.
We go to church every Sunday and we'll allow people to tell us how we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to live in our house, and what's supposed to go on in our relationship. Instead of saying, you know what? I can talk to God directly too. I mean, God is not like our phone bills. AT&T and Sprint, and they'll cut you off.
Right.
But you have a direct line to speak to God for yourself. Yeah. And I tell people, do what makes you happy. You know what God's law says. You know what the rules are. You fall, and listen, if you fall down, God said, okay, listen, all you got to do is ask for forgiveness. Right. And when you ask for forgiveness, and when you're truly sorry about something, you don't do it again. So if you ask for forgiveness, you move on. But there are going to be things that we struggle with, and you know you're going to struggle with those daily. So there is so much pressure to live up to the hype of everybody else. I tell people all the time, if you are happy and you're doing, I don't care if you who you are, gay, straight, black, it doesn't matter to me. You have your own personal relationship with God. At the end of the day, I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. But we make people try to live to a certain standard, and we say, hey, this is how you're supposed to be, and this is how I carry myself. Right. That's not everybody's testimony.
It's not. And the interesting part about this, or one of them for me, is some of this we put pressure on ourselves, right? Because we have high standards. We have people, we have adults, and we have children that look up to us. So we are like, okay, well, how can we raise the bar? Well, there's the other side where we don't ask for things to happen to us. And something that's harder for me to talk about, and I haven't talked about that much to people, was when I found myself raising my kids by myself.
Oh yeah.
I never asked for that. I don't have a hero complex, and I never said I can do this alone. And I remember all of a sudden asking God, how am I supposed to do this? There's no book to be a parent, number one, even when you have support, even when you have the spouse in the house, but there's nothing out there to say, okay, well, when the spouse leaves, this is step number one. Collect your thoughts. You know, it doesn't work like that. And so for me, that's something that I have buried, and there are only a select few people that even know about that time in my life. In fact, I noticed that Wendy and Shannon Kaufman are tuning in today. Thank you so much, guys. They were there during that time, and they would actually facilitate me coming over to their house on a Friday or Saturday night, and they're a bunch of night owls, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we would sit up, and they would just let me talk. And I believe God put them there for me. I believe He does do that like a roadmap. where he knows where you're going, he knows your path, and he says, okay, well, I'm gonna place these people here because they're the only ones that can help you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they serve that purpose for me, and I'm always going to be thankful to them for that, because man, they hurt so much, and I knew I was dumping on them. I knew I kept bringing stuff, and Hannah and Davis would go over there and play with their kids, and they could be kids.
Mm-hmm.
I would go over there, and it was like it was free therapy.
Yeah, we need free therapy is the best. A lot of people are scared to ask for help.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I mean, the thing is, like, people don't realize that's what makes you have those mental problems. You are afraid to talk about it. And I always say it, as a young man, as a young boy, I would get my behind toe up, and the first thing my grandmother would tell me is, "You better not cry. Like, you just beat the brakes off of me. I gotta let these tears out."
Right.
But they tell you, "Hey, you're supposed to be a man." And so now, as you get older as a man, and then you take all of these things that you're bottling up and you're holding on the inside, and that's when people start getting addicted to other things because they won't let things out.
Yes.
They need something to make them feel good. I hate to go monsters ball on you, but they need something to make them feel good, and then you find yourself in just a trap. And then you find yourself in these terrible behind relationships because you're trying to find another human being, and you're saying, guess what? Make me happy. Make me smile. Right. You cannot be in a relationship if you're not happy with yourselves. And we keep dumping and dumping and dumping on other people, and then we get into these relationships we know we're not supposed to be in because we're trying to find a fix.
Right.
We're trying to find something to make us feel good, when we need to just go back and say, you know what, I need to let this out. I was hurt as a child. I was broken as a child. I got in one bad relationship that I never healed from. So before I hop into another one, let me deal with this and get over that now. But I mean, and then you start seeing all your friends, and they have the best relationships in the world. Oh my God, let Facebook tell it. They're kings and queens, and Instagram, they're stunting, they're having good times, and really they're sad, miserable. But it just looks good to the naked eye.
Well, including yourself.
Okay.
Who do you know who has ever looked in the mirror and said, "I am enough"?
I don't think anybody really does.
I'm glad you're honest, because I haven't.
I don't do it.
And and we've been hyping the subject matter all week long, and I kept telling myself, well, Dave, why don't you tell yourself that?
Oh,
dude, I couldn't do it.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it in an alone. I couldn't do it in the shower. I couldn't tell myself. I was not able to get the words out. So that's the part we have to examine about ourselves: is what does that say? What? Because we like to think that we're pretty self-aware, and we are.
Mm-hmm.
We know exactly where we want to go. We know where we are.
Mm-hmm.
We know where we came from, and we own all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down to it, when there are no sounds and there's nobody else around, it's just us. It's stillness, which is what is very valuable, but for a lot of people is very scary.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We don't find the time to say, Dave, you are enough, or Ty, you did enough today. Turn it over tomorrow and start over again. We don't do it. And that's part of why we wanted to talk about this today, is we got to figure that out. That's the part of the equation where we've done 75% of the math problem.
Mm-hmm.
We can see the equal sign, and we can see there's a big space there, right? But how do we get there? Like, what's the first step? Is it admitting that we have a problem saying that we're enough? Or is it the fact that we have pride? Or is it both?
Yeah.
How do we do it?
It's just admitting. It's like a person that is addicted to drugs or alcohol. There has to be an admission there, like, I have a problem.
Right.
And I need to fix this problem. We all don't do that. You know how we fix our problems? Listen, I have this complex about my skin. I don't have it now. I don't care how dark I get. I'm just old. I don't care. But we have this complex about our skin. So we'll take a selfie and we'll change that filter 100 times until it looks like it's supposed to look.
Right.
Instead of just saying, you know what? This is how I am. I am enough.
Right.
And even when it comes to working out, I made a joke this morning on Twitter, and I probably shouldn't have made it. But I was like, these girls, they buy these outfits from a thing called Fashion Nova. Fashion Nova has like these clothes, and they have the wonderful superstars who model them, just normal people model them. Like every woman that is in it, I'm like, oh, their body looks really good. They look really good in that.
Right.
But what happens when you buy that Fashion Nova stuff and your body doesn't look right in it?
Exactly.
And then like, but they're like, well, I need to fix something with me. No, I gotta send this back to Fashion Nova. This doesn't fit right. Oh, it doesn't look right. We do that with our life. We're instead of saying, you know what? Let me get up and do something about my body. Let me get up and do something about the way I look, about the way I feel. We don't do anything. We walk away from it. It's so much easier to blame somebody else and say, you know what? That's Coach Ty's fault that I don't have this, or this is that person's fault, the reason why I don't have this. We are in a blame society, but we cannot look ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, the problem lies within me. And until you start loving yourself like you're supposed to love yourself, nobody else can't love you back.
We could end the show right there, because and that's one of those things that is a drop the mic thing. But okay, what happens after you drop the mic? Who's going to step up and say, okay, I'm going to be the first one to say, I love myself. I am the best the way I am. Mm-hmm. There's always that until tomorrow. Yeah. Because you and I have that. It's okay. Well, we got to get better. Because that's what we tell our kids. That's what we tell our players. That's what we tell everybody. Hey, we haven't arrived. Oh yeah. We can get better. Mm-hmm. It's a blessing and a curse. It rides right by. They look at each other in the face all the time. Okay, who's going to win this? Are you good with what you've done today? No, you're not good. You can go better. You know what I mean?
Well, listen. You know what? The most interesting thing is there are women in relationships that have to be reassured every day that they are loved.
Well, men are too.
Yes, tell me I look nice. Tell me I look good, and I gotta hear this every day. And you gotta think, men, we don't operate that way. We like to show our
love. The new
love.
generation does.
Yeah, we like to show our love. So I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna take you somewhere nice that you wasn't even thinking about. But we're living in a society now where everybody needs to be reassured. Men need to be reassured. I mean, we can act hard all day long, but quickly we get in our feelings. Every time a little handsome guy come on TV, we're like, oh, that's what you like? my stomach.
Right, the wash for stuff, yeah.
What's going on? You know, we get in our feelings quickly too. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but the thing is, if you love somebody like they're supposed to be loved, I just don't see about that real. I don't need you to tell me every day that. I mean, yeah, you should say I love you every day. But I don't need you to be like, I don't need you to profess your love for me every day. A lot of people need that because they haven't got over what they have been through.
Right.
Somebody has told them that they wasn't enough.
Right.
Or nobody's gonna want you. You got all of these kids. Nobody's gonna be with you, girl. Or you got all these kids, sir. Ain't nobody wanna be with you. Or you did this and you did that. Nobody's gonna want you. We have heard that so many times before. That little sad puppy dog story. But the thing is, people say stuff out of anger.
Yes.
And if you start to believe it, then it shall become so. So I'm always about the power of thinking. You cannot just take what somebody says about you and say, hey, that's facts. Who knows you better than you? Who knows you better than you do?
Well, it's a good question because some people don't know themselves.
Man.
You know. I wanted to point out what Miss Amanda Bell said here. This is a pretty good response. She said, I think sometimes people feel like they'll be judged as being too cocky, conceited, or arrogant if they come off as knowing they're enough. Sometimes having the fear of being judged overpowers the feeling of being enough. I mean, it's well said. We all are constantly checking ourselves before we go outside.
Yeah.
Even to go to Walmart.
Yeah.
We do it. We're like, hey, does the hair look good? Am I wearing the right shoes? Just to go to a store to get a loaf of bread. Mm-hmm. We feel the judgment coming, but a lot of that we make up.
Exactly.
It's not really there. A lot of it we make up.
Exactly.
There are so many different segments to this, and I hope we can get to them all today. We're going to try to really keep a quick pace. Another part of this that is deeply personal to me is hearing from one of my kids, one of the girls, and I don't want to name her, but she, I guess it was about a year and a half ago, said, "Well, Dad, why can't I just be enough? Why are you constantly checking my grades? Why are you constantly making sure I'm doing my homework?" Basically, she was telling me that I was hovering.
Yeah. And
I had never heard those words from somebody close to me, that close to me, saying, well, Dad, why can't I just be enough? And in that moment, that was like a donkey kicking me right in the you know where.
That's touching.
Because, well, how do you process that? You know, as a father, how do you process that when your daughter's looking you in the eyes saying, Dad, well, why can't I just be enough?
Yeah.
Why are you comparing yourself to what you did in school to me? And I didn't have a good answer.
That's not even a question.
Yeah, I'm rarely speechless.
Wow.
I'm rarely speechless, and I had to walk away for a few moments. I had to collect, and I kept replaying those words, and I'm like, okay, obviously what I'm doing is not working. Obviously I am causing some damage here that I didn't realize.
I tell you, the hardest thing about being a parent, and we can attest to this, is, all right, you want your kids to be 100 million times better than you.
Absolutely.
I don't think I've met a parent, there's probably some out there, that's like jealous of their kid. You know, I want my kids to be 100 million times smarter than me. I want their bank accounts to just like super exceed what I ever thought about. But a lot of times with me doing that, it's like you forcing them to try to live up to your expectations. And a lot of our kids are not going to live up to our expectations. They're going to be great kids. Don't get me wrong, they're going to be great adults when they get to this. But if they don't reach the level that we think they should be at, I think we have to kind of tone it down some, you know?
Right.
I mean, but if I see you over there just like ruining your life, because me, I'm gonna tell you, bro, I got 4 daughters. So any little boy comes up and say they want to date my daughter, like, I don't like you.
Well, yeah, of course not.
I don't like you at all. Like, get out my face. I mean, I'm like that because it's my kids. I want the best for them.
Of course you do.
But then you have to go back and think, man, I got all these daughters. They're gonna date somebody just like me because all my daughters love me. So what type of guy am I? What am I putting out in the atmosphere? Would I be happy with my daughter dating me? The answer's probably no. Some points, yes, but the younger me, no, not at all. And I know it's a process for a man to grow up and you know, you'll get to that other level, but man, your daughter just messed me up with that question because I feel like now I put a lot on my kids and I expect a lot from my kids. My 12-year-old right now can tell you, oh, she got all A's and 1 B.
That's awesome.
And the 1 B though is in the class that I taught last year, civics. And I'm like, listen, you gonna get this. You gonna get an A in that class because I taught it. And she's like, Dad, I just don't understand it, but I got a B. And I'm like, no, I need an A in this class. And she's like, I just don't understand that part. But I mean, I'm pushing her because my expectations is you should know more than me.
Right.
So now I get what you're saying. I mean, and truth be told, she is more than enough. She's doing her job.
She's a great kid, dude. She is. Yeah. She's a great kid. And we don't have the benefit of seeing outside of ourselves. Yeah. I know for me that is probably one of my biggest weaknesses is I don't do enough of what I always tell everybody else to do. I'm always either telling or I'm writing on social media, take a step back, look at your life.
Oh yeah.
Look how blessed that you are, and stop complaining, stop rushing so much. And here I am, I'm doing all of it.
Yeah.
I'm a hypocrite in a lot of ways.
Oh man.
And you don't like to say that word about yourself. You're like, dang, don't say that about yourself. But it's almost like you can't help being a hypocrite because again, you want better for your kids. That is the goal of every parent is for your child to one up you.
Yeah.
I just told one of the boys yesterday morning on the phone. I said, look, you know something that you could do better than me, son? He said, what? I said, I never got straight A's. And he got real quiet. I'm like, and that bothers me to this day because I could have, and I was lazy. I said, dude, I know that you want to be better than me in some things. He said, yeah, yes, sir. And I said, well, there you go. Oh yeah. There's your goal right there. I said, go after it.
Big time.
You know? And so I've had to reevaluate and change the way I parent. I'm not as field general as much anymore. It was always bam, 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 routine. This is what we're gonna do. It was always coaching at home.
Yes.
And the kids don't want that from me.
Yes.
They want dad. In fact, I have to say this part because it's important. I got a coaching offer from a certain school that has blue and black and white the other day. And it said, well, your son's going to be trying out for the team anyway. I figure you might as well get paid for it. So I went to the person I value her opinion the most. I went to Demi and I said, I need your help with this. I said, I really don't know what to answer. And she said, well, it's probably a good idea that you're just a dad on this one. And I said, you know what, I think you're right. I think you're right. I said, I don't think he needs me to coach him. He needs his dad to be there and hug him no matter what happens. And as hard as that is for me to do, you know, and you know this, because you met me as a coach first. That's how you knew me first.
Oh yeah, big time.
So that is like cutting off an arm for me to not evaluate and give instant analysis to one of my kids on how they did. So this is a big change for me. Like Coach Snell said in there, he said, a lot of people deal with it because a new beginning requires change and change requires work. I couldn't have said it better myself. Coach Snell, you hit it on the head.
That's a smart dude.
He is.
Very, very smart guy.
He is an up-and-coming guy, and I'm loving watching what he's doing. And so making that change for me is going to be very difficult, and I got to be committed to that. You know, when I show up to a game, I can't be grumbling under my breath. Hey, you should have boxed out. Should have set a pick and roll. I can't do that stuff. I need to be up there going, and when he comes over down and he's upset and he needs me to lift him up, I need to be able to do that.
Oh, that's so hard. I like to yell at my child while she's playing basketball.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. No, but you're a good cheerleader.
Yeah, I be giving her grief, but listen, I have never been so proud before in my life, and I just told her, and she was like, wow, Dad, you're giving me a compliment, and I was like, dang, I need to give you more compliments, because Dad is always fussing. But Miss Sweeting just said, the example set for a daughter to show her the acts of how a man should treat a woman will influence her in the man she will pick up in her life. And that is so true. So many young women right now are growing up without their father. And I just don't understand as a man, how do you make this beautiful child? And I know it's probably a woman you didn't want to be with, and you just totally walk away from that child.
Right.
That child doesn't have an option to say, hey, you know, they can't choose their dad.
Right.
But you are their dad, so you need to really step in and be that father. Because if you, I mean, I look at it. When I was out in the dating world, I would date when I was like, okay. First thing I really asked, so, who's your dad? How's your dad? And she's like, I never met him, or he doesn't come around, or we don't talk to him much. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a problem in the relationship right now. I can see from the start. Unfortunately, because young women need their dad in their life. Their dad will bring a type structure. Their mom is going to be more hard than the dad is, believe it or not.
Right.
Because dad wants, that's daddy's little girl. Right. So he's going to love on her, show her how she's supposed to be treated, take her out on her first date, do all those different things, spoil her, and then she's like, all right, so this is how a man is supposed to treat a woman. But then the problem is she doesn't get to see how dad is elevated when it comes to the household, how he treats his wife. Because a lot of times, we are in separate households. So we got people you're raising your kid over here, she's raising at her house this weekend, and you have them the following weekend, but your child never gets the glimpse of how a woman is supposed to be treated. Doesn't get to see you cater to your woman or take your woman and do those things. And a lot of times the guy is trying to keep the peace because he's in another relationship. And the first thing a woman to take, don't have her around my kids. Yes. And you're trying to honor that because you want to see your kids every weekend, and you're like, well, dang, what do I do?
Right.
I really want to spend time with my kids, but your kids don't get to see you in that. This is how a dad loves a woman, and this is how a woman is supposed to be treated. My dad does this. And that is my expectations when I get married. So if you go on a false narrative, you've never seen your dad, never had a dad participate in your life, or you've never seen a man treat a woman this way, your first idea of love, you're like, okay, this is how a relationship is supposed to be, and it's not. I've seen so many young girls getting abused and things happening to them because dad is not there. And no matter, they keep looking for those relationships to replace daddy. And they always feel like they are never enough because they're trying to replace the man who should have been number two next to God in their life.
Right.
That's the hardest thing that's going on right now. Same way when it comes to when it comes to the boys. They don't see their father treating a woman correctly, or all they hear is mom talk about how sorry dad is.
Right.
So when they meet daddy, there's no respect there, because mama doesn't require there to be respect there. And as a man, if you don't require your kids to respect their mom, you got issues.
Yes,
you really got
you
issues.
do, and they become deep-seated, and then teachers have to deal with them, and then coaches have to deal with them, and on and on, because we've experienced all of that, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
The perfect segue, what you said, to the problem that is getting bigger by the day in Bay County. After Hurricane Michael, I've shared the stats with you, and I'll tell everybody again. We have 125 kids in this county alone that have been Baker acted since last October 10th.
Yeah.
And we're on a pace to get over about 150 by the end of the calendar year. There's seemingly nothing slowing that down because of the divorce rate has skyrocketed around here. People have had to move because they can't live in their house, or their contractor ditched them, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Bay County is a very, very tough place to live in right now. We are scarred, we're hurting, and the kids, as always, even in a very good situation, are the ones that pay the most, and they are the ones that are suffering huge mental scars. There was a story that came out again in Bay County of a suicide pact that was made by 3 girls.
Wow.
Who I believe were only 7 years old. And they came to school and they had their razors and they cut their wrists at school. They had decided that they had lived their whole life. There was a boy, 5 years old in kindergarten, who heard his parents talking about taking their lives. And so he followed that and he wanted to do it. So dude, we've got a serious problem where the subject of I am not enough is growing bigger by the day. And for those of you wondering why we're hyping the public speaking event that we're trying to get to, is because we are really wanting to curtail this the best that we can. We know that we're not going to stop it. We know that it is much bigger than us, and we don't have that hero complex that I referenced earlier. We're not trying to be heroes. We are simply trying to let kids know that they're going to be okay, that they need to talk, that they have people who can hug on them, that they have their counselors at school, and that's why you and I are so visible on social media now. And I'm happy to say I've had so many former students from last year start following me on Instagram in 1 week. You know, and that makes me feel good. It really, really does, to know that in some of their darkest times, they just need to see that quote. And I started doing that I forgot to tell you that. I started writing quotes on the board for myself, right at my desk, for my own inspiration. But I'm taking a picture of it and I'm sharing it, and I'm saying, look, this is our interactive classroom now. We don't have to be separated. And I'm like, so these kids really do need us, you know? And I didn't understand that. I don't know if that was a fault of mine, of thinking that maybe I was bigger than the classroom, but that classroom follows us.
Yeah, they follow us daily. And I mean, it holds us to a standard. We just can't put anything on our Facebook page because we know it could be damaging a young life. And I mean, I talked to so many students last year just about, you know, just life, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to carry yourselves. And unfortunately, you don't get those life lessons from teachers no more. A lot of teachers, they're underpaid. They're probably at a school they don't want to be at. There's no like stability there.
They're jaded.
So when you finally get a teacher that actually cares about you, those kids tend to want to be around us and hang with us. It's a shame that if I'm on your kid's Instagram or Facebook page and you as a parent, you're not. I mean, I was talking just the other day, I think I told you last week too. I said, you know, the kids really haven't changed. You think about how we was when we were their age. Just, it was parenting on a whole different level.
Yeah.
I mean, the parents have changed. The parents have got more relaxed. They allow things to happen. You know, I grew up in a time we just couldn't say nothing bad. And bad as I wanted to say, I didn't do this. I just was like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. But it has helped me as a man on jobs now. When I want to snap, I'm like, yes, sir. Yes, sir, we'll get it done.
Right.
Or yes, ma'am, we'll get it done. Even though I'm beyond mad,
Yes.
I've learned that self-control, that self-discipline, and a lot of those kids are not learning that now. They're learning bad habits. It's more easier for them to just say, you know what, I'm gonna just check out, and I'm not gonna do it. Or it's more easier now for them to go start arguing back with the coach or cussing at the teacher because they do it at home.
Yes.
This is not just the behavior that happens at school, it happens at home. And then as parents, we get up there and we lie. I don't know where this behavior has come from. Little Johnny, I don't know what's going on. No, you saw it when it happened, you just didn't nip it in the bud. So I think parents now need to start nipping stuff in the bud, start controlling what they watch on TV. A lot of kids watch these movies, 13 Reasons Why, all of those different things, and they get those ideas in your head. And I told you, once you start thinking that you are this way, and so many people have beat you up and put you down, you start to actually believe the hype. So then, therefore, somebody that is vulnerable to believe in the hype will say, you know what, I'm just going to check out. I'm going to take myself out early.
Right.
And we don't identify that, or we don't see a person hurting because we're more focused on ourselves, or we're more focused on our lesson plan, or we're more focused on what's going on at the house. And, you know, after Hurricane Michael, we just sat in the classroom and just talked. Y'all tell me how you feel.
Absolutely.
I mean, listen, we all got stories to tell of like what's going on. Do you need anything? How can I help you? Can I do that? And I think that's what the world was intended to be, but this world is so just
backwards.
selfish.
Yeah.
It's beyond that.
Yeah, we got a lot of issues in society right now, and that is contributing, as it always has, to the mental illness in our country and our society. And only recently are we talking about it. And we need to do a better job, and that's part of our mission. When we first wanted to get this off the ground, was to remember what we said. Let's start the conversation.
Listen, I got a great one too.
Okay.
Miss Sweeting also said on Friday, my daughter was in a classroom where a little girl was in trouble because she was getting verbally abused at home. When the teacher got onto her, she grabbed a pair of scissors and tried to cut her wrists. My daughter grabbed the scissors and called for help. The little girl grabbed another pair of scissors, and another girl grabbed the scissors, and the little girl tried to stab herself in the chest with those scissors, with another pair. And the teachers and authorities came and handled the situation, and she had to have a conversation with her daughter. She knows she's enough, even though she's short. But I mean, listen. Kids by the buttload. The little girl wrote a note to Janaea when she was like probably in 3rd grade about killing herself. And Janaea talked to her and told her that God loved her and so on and so on. And that girl became like one of her good friends. And she wrote a letter we still have at the house, and she thanked her for basically like saving her life because the little girl didn't want to be here. And it's a shame. Now, listen, I'm all for getting on your kids and fussing at them and doing what you're supposed to do as a parent, but I'm also for love on your kids.
Right.
You know, as a young male, I wasn't loved no. My mom, I love her to death, but she didn't hug me. She didn't hug me. Wasn't no kissing going on, no loving, none of that. That was just you the man up. You the man of the house. So many boys right now with that burden on there that are stuck in a household where they're the man of the house at 8 years old. Yeah. That's the hardest thing to do. And then women, you know, you kind of force that title on him. Yeah, he needs to be the man. He's the man in the house. Make him step up. Yeah, take out the trash. Do those things that men do, but don't put the responsibility of you're the man of the house.
Right.
You need to go take out the trash. You need to do this.
Well, they don't even know what that means.
Yeah, they don't. And then the women, they were like, you know, listen, stop calling your sons daddy. Listen, I know I'm gonna step on some toes with that, but that is a responsibility that is laid on that young man that he's not ready to accept that.
Right.
Accept yet. And I mean, young girls, they mature faster than us guys. I think they're about 3 years or 2 years
at least.
Yeah. More faster than us.
Yeah.
So that responsibility, a young man is not ready to take at that age. You can show him how, show him what a man is supposed to be. But when you start putting the thing on him, when you label him as the man of the house, all right, as the man of the house, I got to go out and earn money. I got to go out and do this. So then your son is selling drugs or doing stuff because he feels like he's the man of the house and he has to do this to take care of his mom.
Well, to your point, along with loving on them and taking a moment with them, talk to your kids. Talk to them, and you can talk to them like an adult. You not as in talking down to them, to say, hey, how you doing? And you and I don't even do that enough. We don't just, we're always talking about what's the next thing, but how many of us actually look at our loved ones and say, how was your day? But say, okay, don't tell me about work.
Yeah.
Don't tell me about what you heard on the radio. How were you today?
Yeah.
We don't do that, and it goes right alongside with not checking ourselves and not saying, I did enough today. We don't talk to our sons, we don't talk to our daughters about, tell me about you and how you got through today. How was your day? We get so distracted with, how was that test today? I do it, dude. I'm so bad about it. I'm like, how was that quiz you told me about? I go to grades first.
Exactly, Mundo.
And I gotta stop doing that. I gotta stop doing that. I think you hit on this earlier, and I'm not bringing this up just because she's my lovely fiance. But by the way, we have both of our spouses watching us right now.
Yeah, I see that.
Demi said the same thing about parents talking about teachers and coaches. If you show kids it's okay to not be respectful to these people, why would your children be? You are raising them to be amazing people. Set the example.
Yeah.
We saw the brunt of that in the classroom a lot.
Yeah.
We saw it on the court, we see it on the football field, as teachers and coaches, and you get this every day, where you're expected to do the parenting. Now, I know you being you embrace that because you're a great man, and I do the same thing. But is that fair?
It's definitely not fair because we're trying to teach too.
Right.
But we're also trying to we're trying to teach these kids how to be great human beings. And a lot of parents gotta realize, like, you gotta teach your kid to be a great human being. You gotta start. So you gotta teach them, hey, love people, regardless of what their color is, regardless of what they look like, whatever, regardless of what their nationality. Just love people, and be a respecter of people. And then you're not gonna come in this living room and yell at me and say, Dad, you're gonna do something like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, every plate you get on this table, I pay for it. So you're not gonna tell me what to do. But a lot of parents just, I don't know why they are scared to be parents. They're fearful.
Yes.
Wow. That's a whole nother show right there. But we cannot be fearful of being parents. And you also, at the same time, you gotta be firm, you gotta be fair, and you got to tell your kids you love them. You think about, like you said, you just want somebody to say, how was your day today? Think about how many times as men we fail. Because listen, we are like this. We are wired this. Coach, how was your day today? Oh man, it was good. All right, mine was good too. Larry just watched TV.
Yeah.
But women are wired different. So women can tell you at 8:55, she was talking to such and such, and this person came to her desk and dropped this off, and then at 9:20, she went to the other room, and they give you each detail by detail. And we as men, we're like, all right, I'm just waiting to the end. She's gonna ask me or tell me that I'm not listening.
It's gonna test you, yeah.
So, but the thing is, if I really want to know how your day is, I'm going to take the time to actually listen to how your day was.
Yes.
But we're such in a hurry, we're like, all right, honey, okay. I want to take a shower, I gotta go.
You bring up something really, really good there, because as males, and actually a lot of people now, active listening is a skill set that a lot of people don't have.
Exactly.
I didn't even hear that term until I was about to graduate from USF, and I was taking all these classes and being an active listener, and I studied that. I'm like, wow, active listening. I always thought I was listening, but apparently I wasn't, because I was missing a lot of stuff. And in relationships, number one, but especially with your kids, you've got to be an active listener. And I was shown something the other day about when your kid gets in the car and they come in with an attitude, because we've been through that, and everybody watching has been through that. And so we get offended. We're like, whoa, don't you get in here after I leave work and you want to take over my car and you want to have an attitude. We get mad at them and we haven't seen them for 7 hours, right?
Exactly.
That is the wrong response as a parent. Now, of course, we want order. That's what we want. As moms and dads, we want order. We are the judge, jury, right? But how about we look at that differently? How about we rethink it and say, well, maybe they're expressing themselves in the only way they know how to, because somebody did them wrong during the day. And they come in and they're letting out the anger that they couldn't let out in class because of everything we've talked about. Be respectful in the classroom. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. I can't get angry at anybody. And all of a sudden, and it comes out in the car. And of course, being immature, it comes out the wrong way.
Yeah.
But if we can rethink that, it's not being weak, it's not being soft for old school people saying, look, well, you just gotta whoop them. There's a time and a place, but when your kids are getting older, there's no whooping anymore.
Yeah.
You graduate from that, you know?
Yeah.
It's not about corporal punishment. It's about retooling, rethinking, and saying, maybe they had a really crappy day, and they're trying to get me to communicate and say, what happened?
You think about it though, we as parents feel like, I have given you everything.
Yes.
I hate for my daughter to come in and be like, Dad, I'm bored. Like,
Yeah.
that drives me to a whole
how are you bored?
another level. Like,
Yeah.
you have everything. Like every video game system, every computer, everything at your disposal. Like, so when they get in your car and they have an attitude, in your mind you're like, I am giving you everything.
And you have nothing.
Get in my car and you have a doggone attitude. We don't
Yes.
think about what they went through.
Right.
We're like, man, don't you get in this car and have an attitude after do you know how many kids would love to be able to just to get in the car? You see how many kids are walking up? We can go through a whole list.
Yes.
But we don't take the time to say, hey, what happened today? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Or a lot of parents though will take that, sometimes your kid is they probably got in trouble at school that day. So they've already tried to prepare their story to tell you to make you mad at their teacher. And like I said, and as a teacher, I started to realize, okay, I'm going to call your mom in front of you. And I want you to tell your mom exactly what you did. Because when you get home, the story is going to change.
Right.
And Coach Ty is not a very nice person. And she's going to be trying to take you out of my class. And this class is probably the best thing for you because I'm going to work with you.
Right.
So, I've learned just through wisdom how to do that. But you are absolutely right. We don't give our kids an opportunity to say, hey, this is bothering me, or deal with it. I'm strong. You should be able to deal with it. And we don't take in consideration, man, I'm 42 years, it took me 42 years to get here, to where I'm at right now. And I'm still nowhere near where I need to be. But I consider myself a good guy. I consider myself level-headed. I can do this. And we want our kids to be exactly like that.
Right.
But it took us 42 years to get there. Or however old everybody else is, it took us a while to get there. We don't recognize it.
Well, you just said something. You said, and I still got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Well, maybe what you and I can do, and what we can be a good example of, is I got a long way to go, but I am enough to get there. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Because I think that's what we struggle with in our language. Is number one, so many people don't study the English language enough to actually have a grasp of it and to use it effectively. Exactly. So what we just did is we just did a combo sentence. That's all we did. Yeah. We just said, I got a long way to go, and then before that say, but I'm enough to get to the long place I've got to get to.
Exactly.
You can do both.
Exactly.
You know, and being type A personalities like we are as coaches that you have to be, and as teachers, and as a proactive father, and on and on and on. When we take on these responsibilities willingly, we have to be able to keep ourselves in check. We have to have checkpoints, just like the authorities would have a checkpoint if they're looking for somebody. Well, we have to have checkpoints and say, did I do this today? Mm-hmm. Well, if we fail on a couple, hey, tomorrow I gotta shore this up, but I'm enough to get there.
Yeah.
Because, and I said this to one of my coworkers the other day. I looked at him, I was like, we have a long list of things that we said that we didn't do in a day, but do we tell ourselves what we did do?
Oh man.
And he's like, wow, I never thought about that. And I said, I'm not trying to even be deep on here. I'm just saying, these are simple questions that we don't ask ourselves. And can we start simplifying life a little bit here? Because if we can do that, maybe life does get a little bit more simple. Dude, it's hard enough out there.
Yeah. It's
hard enough out there. There are so many obstacles that so many people face on a given day that that you don't have control over. But what you do have control over is the way you think and the way you act and what you do with that. Because that's really all the control that we have. You know, we know he's got everything up there. He's got the script. He's just looking to see if we're going to follow it. And when a window opens, we have free will. He can't control that. So do we go through that window? Are we making the right choices? Are we being too human? Are we being that dumb human and saying, oh, well, I screwed up again? No, as I said to one of my boys right here 2 weeks ago, put my hands on his shoulders and I smiled. I said, stop screwing up. And he smirked. And I was glad that he did because he knew what I meant. I wasn't being mean. I wasn't being unjust. I simply said, stop screwing up.
Oh yeah, big time. All right. Listen, I get you 100%, man. And I tell you, I think every man, I don't care what guys say, like they be like, man, I'm a loner, I'm a rebel. You need friends. You need other men that are gonna hold you accountable.
Yes.
A lot of time as men, it's hard to be vulnerable. And I think in the process of us being vulnerable, we can actually grow. Because you need somebody that's going to hold you accountable for all of your actions. And a lot of times we don't want that.
Right.
I mean, we used to have men groups where we would meet, like, hey, was you tempted this week? Did you look at a woman too long? Or what are you feeling at in areas of your life? And I think once you start having healthy dialogue like that, you can change. You can actually see yourself change because there's somebody that's holding you accountable. But a lot of our problem is, I mean, you know, everybody's not trustworthy. I mean, I always say it all the time, man, my circle is so small, it's a dot. A lot of people want to meet people, and you meet a person one day and you want to give them your whole life story. You can't give them your whole life story. You got to fill them out, see if they're trustworthy, and will they be able to keep your secrets. I think that's the most important thing that a man looks for in a relationship. He wants to be able to date somebody that will keep his secrets. Because I think men open up to women like no other thing. It's hard at first, but whenever you open up to that person and you want to trust that she's going to keep your secrets. And that means, when I say keep your secrets, that means we don't get into an argument and then you be like, well, that's why when you was little, then nobody wants you. You know, if I'm open up and I'm vulnerable, I'm telling you my most vulnerable thing, you can't take that vulnerability about me and throw it in my face. And in turns, fellas, you can't do women like that. They'll tell you some stuff that bothers them or that really deeply hurt them. Maybe they were raped, maybe they were molested, or things happened to them. You can't take it as soon as you get mad. Oh, that's why you was raped, because you act like this. I've seen that too many times. I mean, I watched the horror of people doing that right in front of me, like, man. But it goes back to like just being respected of people. Like if you're taught at a young age to love people, last thing you want to do is try intentionally just to hurt somebody.
Oh no. Well, that shows who you are in that moment too. Coach Snell brings up something else. Key question: can I trust you to hold me accountable? And that's something that you have to have with that person that you're sharing your life with. You don't want them to be a yes person.
Definitely.
And it's funny because, you know, I get joked with by Demi. She's like, what did you want me to tell you? Do you want me to just tell you this? I'm like, well, no, I don't want you just to tell me what I want to hear. You know, and that's part of the art form. That's part of the trust is knowing, like you just said, you take that information and you file it away. And it stays in the file cabinet. You don't reference the file cabinet because that person knows what's in their file. You don't need to remind them what's in their file. You know what I mean? So I think it's important that we paint these objective pictures like that, like the example I just used. That's a file cabinet. So when we're having a minor discussion or a disagreement, you leave that manila folder there. That's like your resume. You know your resume because you're the one that built it. Nobody can be able to tell your resume better than you. So at the end of the day, if you're holding yourself accountable, then you should have that little small conversation when you're brushing your teeth, or when you're shaving, or whatever you're doing, in the mirror after you got the shower, whatever it is, and you say to yourself, I am enough. If we can start doing that one at a time, I really honestly believe we can see some change. I believe that. And as I say that, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. That's the thing. I don't know my level of ability to do that. But see, we do it behind closed doors. Who's going to see us do it? So when we say it, it's like, prove it.
Yeah.
Did you actually say that? But again, we know if we did it or not.
Exactly.
We have to hold ourselves accountable.
Exactly. And I know we're getting close on time, but I want to leave you with my little final thoughts. I want to talk to that. I just want to talk to that man out there, that young guy, that man, that older man that goes to work every day, works behind off, and is treated like a king at work. But when he comes home, he just doesn't feel like he is enough.
Right.
Nobody talks to him. Nobody says thank you. Nobody's just into what he's doing at all. It just feels like he's just there and he's just dad and everybody's existing in the house. I want to speak to that man and let that person know that he is enough. I've seen so many guys that want to commit suicide, that want to go out and have an extra relationship because they don't feel like they are enough at home. It's the same thing with women. I want to speak to y'all today. I want you guys to figure it out, get it together, tell each other you love each other. It doesn't hurt. You stood before God and gave all these vows and did all of those things, or you hadn't got there yet. You got to learn to tell the person you're with that they are enough. I'm sick of seeing women trying to go manipulate their bodies to be like, I don't want to say a Kardashian, but to be like a Kardashian, to be something that they see. You are enough. And you got to realize you're going to find somebody that's going to love you just for who you are. And if they can't love you for who you are, you don't need to be with them. God made you wonderful. God made you divine for a reason, and you need to accept that. But to that man that is feeling like he has to go out and do other things, I speak to you today. You are enough. Don't quit. Don't give up. Find the light at the end of the tunnel. I promise you it's there. The women that are struggling with their bodies or struggling with their relationships, you got to know that you are enough. This right here was for you today. I mean, and I've been there. I still struggle with a lot of things, and I'm shocked when people tell me how good I am at this and how good I am at that, because a lot of times I don't believe it. But through this show today, I really feel like I'm better. I feel like that I am enough in a lot of things, and I'm strong enough to be enough. If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So that's my little spiel for today.
No, I appreciate it, because you were just talking to me, and I know you didn't know it, but in my previous marriage, that was my role for about eight or 9 years solid. Was I was lifted up at work, and I was somebody who was really an all-star at what I did. But when I got home, that was not praised at all. And in fact, it was thrown in my face a lot.
Constantly.
So yeah, I feel you there. That was good stuff. I appreciate that. To round this out, really, I'm proud of this show. I really am. I'm proud of this show. It's everything that I hoped it would be, and what I hope it's going to be moving forward is a catalyst for what we're going to do. We, again, guys, we're reaching out in the community. Coach Snell actually stepped up earlier in the week and said, whatever he can do to help us find that venue where we can do our public speaking event. I can't stress enough to everybody listening and watching, even if you're watching this on the YouTube channel when we post it later, please see what you can do to try to make this happen, because it's not for us. Let me make that very clear. We are not going to make any money off this. We don't do this show for money. We have not made a dime.
Not a penny.
Not a penny, and because that's not what we're about. We want to do this event to really help children and even the adults that come in the house that night, the mentors, the teachers, the parents, the coaches. We want this to be something that hits everybody in the same way, but also personalizes it for wherever they need it at that moment. It's not a novelty idea. It's something that is needed. That's essentially what it is. It is needed. We need it now here in our community. Our children need this. The ones that we taught last year and the year before that. The children in our houses need this. And I'm telling you, I feel like the sense of urgency for me is almost overwhelming. It's almost like a big game for me that I've been training for, and I didn't even know that I'd be able to do something like this. Just like you said, you didn't know you'd ever be doing a podcast, and you never thought it was going to be you. I never thought that I'd be trying to champion the cause for helping the voiceless have a voice.
Exactly.
I never knew that was going to be me. But I'll tell you what, man, I'm more determined now than ever.
Oh yeah.
Because it has hit me personally, and I see how the power of words in telling that child, you are enough, you're going to be okay, and I love you, the power of that,
Oh yeah.
you can save a life.
Oh yeah.
And then you save that life, and then you can save another and another. So what we're doing is so important, and I am so blessed, and I'm so humbled by what we get to do every week to share this time with you guys.
Oh yeah.
Hey man, thank you so
Another
much.
good show.
Another great show.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Everybody out there, hey look, hang with us. We really appreciate the support. We really, really do. You don't understand how much we appreciate the support, how much we need to do this show,
Oh yeah.
how much it helps us, absolutely. So
Therapy.
we feel like we're sharing a virtual therapy room with everybody, and we all can work out our things together. That's what this is about. It's starting a conversation. We got each other's back. We're loving on each other every single day. Let's keep doing that because it's working. People are getting empowered. We are, you are, and we really appreciate it. So hey, next time is going to be episode 10. We're getting to double digits now. That's a celebration that we're going to be doing next week. So please come back for that. And
We're growing up.
absolutely. Hey, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah.
Love on each other, love your children, love yourself, and tell yourself in the mirror tonight that you are enough. Please do that, and I hope we can do the same. For Coach Ty Steele, I'm Dave Ford. This has been the J.O.B. Podcast. Peace.
Peace.
And God bless.